Perspectives and theories in conflict. Today we're going to talk about implementing diversity inclusion programs in the workplace. Diversity based conflict is when our personal characteristics, such as our identification with culture, ethnicity, and race, are the source of a conflict. So think of diversity as being similar to selecting people for a choir who have different musical backgrounds, vocal ranges, and abilities. The inclusion piece of diversity and inclusion means making sure that those different voices are heard and valued and that they contribute to the performance of your organization. So, where those gaps and barriers are identified, it is important to understand how inclusion can address deficiencies and support effective decision making and better business results in these areas. So organizational systems must be assessed because back in 2010, national survey showed that 36% of Americans reported personally being bullied at work, while 15% of the population watched or witnessed it. So half of Americans have experienced workplace bullying due to either their culture, ethnicity, or religion selections. When employees who are different from their colleagues from are allowed to flourish, the company benefits from their ideas, skills, and engagement. The retention rate of those workers will also rise. So we have to look at ethical and conflict differences. Some individuals hold prejudice against people who have different ethnic, cultural, and religious backgrounds as their own. So, how do we resolve this? Cultural sensitivity training and diversity awareness programs in the workplace can help address these issues. But implementing a diversity inclusion program, the vision will be for all identities, backgrounds, and expressions to be represented in that workplace. Your organization's executives and managers will be instrumental to your diversity and inclusion efforts. At the end of the day, it's the leader who's on the front line with all employees. And therefore, it is the experience that the leader is creating that is going to make or break that diversity, inclusion, incentive. So, therefore, we need to have diversity training where managers and employees address how they perceive and treat people differently based on what they perceive are different from them. So, with diversity training, employees and managers will be able to acknowledge and understand all the ways we as a people are different and similar, and will be able to come to grips with their own biasness and prejudiceness. These actions would mean that we have to include the four ethical principles and the respective values and standards in order to make this a successful program. So, one is to respect for the dignity and autonomy of persons. Be responsible, caring for the best interests of persons, integrity and professional relationships, and responsibility to society with respect to the treatment of the diverse population that exists within the workplace. Leaders should add these four keys to their code of conduct. So, what are the benefits of a diversity inclusion program in the workplace? It will minimize prejudice and biasness in the workplace. The impact of the program will create a more inclusive work environment for employees and customers. And we know that if the employees are happy, then the customer will be happy. So, how do we put a plan in action to becoming inclusive? By achieving an inclusive work environment is a cultural change initiative, meaning that we have to make sure we are creating a culture for the organization that is welcoming, that everyone feels included. Diversity supports inclusion and should be practiced throughout all aspects of the organization. Inclusive practices must be integrated into product development, communications, training and education, career and professional development, recruitment, and retention. There must be cross functional teams comprised of men and women who are intergenerational and racially diverse, stimulate new thinking, a new way of thinking. So these actions will help our organization to reap the benefits of a workplace inclusion strategy. Inclusion represents opportunity for growth, new knowledge, and global community. So, with implementing a diversity inclusion program within the workplace, you're allowing everyone from every background a platform to get to understand each other and to be able to speak on how they feel.